So stop seeking God, because those who seek will never find. Only those who find can seek. Ever since I can remember, I've been looking for God everywhere. When I was a child, it's hard to explain. I knew that there was something there, and I always had these psychic occurrences. For instance, in this house we lived in when I was younger, I used to see fingers creeping around the corners, and shadows coming across the room, and I didn't want to wake up at nighttime because I knew I was going to experience something. But I always had this weird connection, this security, this safety blanket, and it's followed me throughout my entire life. For example, when I'm right on the edge of not making it, say I have no money, the bills are due, they're going to shut it off, everything's doomed. Right at the last second, something crazy will happen and I'll receive a check in the mail from a family member I haven't seen in 10 years. It's been like that. It's been my true safety blanket all these years. But the quest never ended. I started going to church when I was 16 years old on my own. I got a car, my parents got it for me for Christmas, and I decided to start going to church. I became a youth leader. I studied the Bible. Prior to that, I had been an acolyte when my great-grandfather was a pastor for a Lutheran church in Cumming, Georgia. I'd always been involved in the church, and I had a very special connection to God and to Yeshua. But at some point, I feel like Christianity turned. I don't think it was me. I was always seeking the same thing that I had always sought. But Christianity itself had made a left turn. It had become a game, a popularity contest, a money-driving institution, using its 501c to pay people for what? What are they doing? Unless they're out there actually doing something with that money, I just don't understand that tithe. So as the years went by, I started to study other things. Now, I never left the feeling I had for Jesus, for Yeshua. I never separated the feeling I had with God. And I never separated the feeling I had with myself. The thing is, I started to sever a little bit from the Bible in its translation. I didn't think that the literal things it was saying were actually what it meant. For instance, if the Bible were to say, go into your house, well, a standard Southern Baptist Christian would probably walk inside their home and say, I have done it, Lord, where are you? But that actually means to go inside your house is this. You must go within yourself to pray and meditate. Go into your closet to pray. So I studied the Bhagavad Gita. That was my next step. I found it to be very beautiful. I thought Arjuna was a perfect protagonist. After the Bhagavad Gita, I realized that the Bhagavad itself was part of the Upanishads. The Bhagavad Gita was itself part of the Upanishads, which is a massive collection, beautiful works about the inner and outer experience and the different dimensions. And then there were the Yoga Sutras, and all the different mudras you can learn, and all these different chakra practices, from the sacral to the crown, from the root to the crown, I apologize for that. It's weird staring into a little lens while you're trying to discuss things. It's not like I'm talking to a person, I'm talking to you, people, but if you were on my end, you'd see I'm just staring at a weird little camera with an OtterBox on it. But yeah, so I started going down that route, started learning Hindi, started meditating. Man, that was a huge change in my life when I started meditating. When I started doing vegetarian food, that really helped. When I started juicing and when I started fasting. And so what happened then is I had a knowledge of Christianity. I had completely read through the Bible several times, written papers on it, done university stuff on it. I knew it. So then I knew the Bhagavad Gita and a lot of the Upanishads by heart. So I have two different sections of God here, two different versions of what people saw from him and what they expected and what they learned from God. I had two different ones. So as a pest control technician, I would meet all kinds of people in the world. I would meet Muslim people, and I would talk to them about the Quran. And they gave me a copy of the Quran, and I read that, and I found it to be beautiful. It's not exactly what you would think. It's actually more about love and allegory as well. And just the radical sects are going off of different books, a lot like the Book of Mormon breaks off from the Old Testament of the Bible. These other books that jihadist Muslims would use were broken off of the Quran itself. Okay, so they're going off a little bit of a different doctrine. And I just wanted to see, what does everyone think about God? Like, why is there so many different versions of this? So after the Quran, I went and I read a lot of Tao texts and a lot of different books in Buddhism. I didn't get quite as deep into Buddhism as I did into Hinduism, and I didn't get as deep into the Quran or Islam as I did into the Bhagavad Gita as well. I just had more of a connection to it. But I did realize that if you look through those books and you truly read them and you truly understand them, that you're going to find God is in all of those books, and it's almost in the very same way. The thing is, we just want to separate ourselves and we just want to hate people for no reason at all. So, where am I after having done all of that? The truth is, I kind of had to backtrack a bit, and I went to a time when I was a child. Before anyone taught me doctrine, before anyone taught me ceremony, before anyone taught me religion, before anyone taught me taxes and capitalism and governments and socialism and all these different isms and asms, and everyone has an idea. But if you take that idea and you force it upon people, that's no longer an idea. Okay? You've made a movement. And you have to be really careful with that. Because look how many Christians there are. Look how many Muslims there are. They're all trapped within that. And they can't seem to get without. That's actually not how you should say it. I don't know why I said it that way. They cannot seem to escape that. Because out of fear, when I was a kid, I was taught that if I don't do something right, God is going to put me into a burning fire of hell. Maybe He will. Maybe He won't. Probably because He's not a He at all. When you look at someone and you feel love for them, and you want to be with that person, and your insides are just turned upside down out of passion, that feeling, that's God. That's what He is. Sorry for the pronoun, but that's what God is. God has a feminine side. God has the masculine side. There's no gender there. And I couldn't get my head around some of the things that people thought. I can't understand how this person goes to hell and this person doesn't. Or if this person doesn't know about God, this person's safe. But if you tell them about God, all of a sudden they're not safe. Well, don't tell them then. So where do we as the spiritual seekers go from this point? Action. So I've spent 30 years of my life trying to find God. And it says in the Bible, he who says, look here or look there, there is God. That person knows not God. So I take this into my life and I wonder, I've been seeking everywhere for Him. Is God inside my book? Is God inside that church? Is God inside that mosque or that temple? Is that where He is? No, that's not where she is. Until I went home and sat down in true meditation, I didn't realize where God actually was. God was in that spot where I was sitting down, waiting for me. Because God never was anywhere else. It's impossible for God to exist anywhere else. Because you don't even really exist here. One day you're going to wake up in your next place. All those clothes you purchased, all those games you played, all those people you associated with, you didn't do any of that. Do you think you're really spending your money right now? Do you think it's really your money? Do you think it's money? Do you think it's anything? Because it's not. It is, as they say, a true illusion. God's there. The black hole at the center of you. If you go as deep as you can within that, if I were to continue to go deep within myself, as far as possible, if I go all the way to within, I will come back out inside one of you. Because there is no me and there is no you. We're connected at two ends of a giant funnel like this, and we are everything. And God is that. God is the source of that. You are not God, but you are of God. So stop seeking God, because those who seek will never find. Only those who find can seek.